What is up, guys? Blackscape here, and today we have our first bit of Dragon Ball news in a while. The drought has been insane, but we finally got a few droplets here. An interview with Iyoku about Dragon Ball Daima, which is strange because Dragon Ball Daima ended almost a year ago, and we haven't gotten any information in the entirety of that time. It's like they gave up on Dragon Ball Daima completely when they could have spent the last couple months giving us information about exactly what the story elements mean for the greater Dragon Ball story, but they never did that. And so this is the first interview that we got with Iyoku that he actually explains things about Dragon Ball Daima that we did not know before. And this is the first ever, as you guys can read the title of the video, the first ever mention of a Dragon Ball anime coming next. So this is all in the interview. Let's go ahead and jump in. I'm excited to finally get out of this drought. Let's jump into the first slide here. Iyoku-san, what role did you take charge of in this work? From the beginning to end, I look through everything that relates to the development of the work as a whole. Among those, the exchanges with Toriyama sensei are the biggest part of my job. I also have the role of conveying to the production side that what intentions are embedded in the plot and designs Toriyama sensei created. Furthermore, I watch over everything from anime production to publicity and even product rollout. You could say I serve as a sort of overseer. It sounds like he controls everything. Please tell us the background of how the project Dragon Ball Daima was born. At first, we hadn't planned to have Toriyama sensei create the story. It was still around the time when we were producing the film Dragon Ball Super Superhero, and we had no intention of going so far as to ask him for a series as well. When, as a proposition, we consulted him about wanting to do a completely new anime series, it was decided that he would make just the very tip of the story. And as we gradually kept meeting, in the end, it turned into him creating the whole story. And that's kind of what makes Dragon Ball Daima feel like the ending, because I feel like Toriyama gave us everything that he ever wanted in Dragon Ball, in a Dragon Ball story, while still fulfilling the action and the combat and the fights, while still putting that, because that wasn't his bread and butter. But that's why Dragon Ball Daima is kind of goofy and lighthearted at times, and the villains you don't have to take them seriously, and they're kind of one note. And then you get that other Kai that really doesn't do anything for the plot at all. Like, both Kais really don't do much. So it is literally like Toriyama's baby, and that is why the series felt so final, so finalized at the end. And then Dragon Ball, no manga comes after that. It's done. It's cooked. It is the end of Dragon Ball. That's what it feels like. Through what kind of exchanges did you build a story together with Toriyama sensei? There was even a period when we were in contact almost every day. In response to Toriyama sensei's ideas, I told him everything I thought and tried to offer alternatives rather than just impressions. And when we would take up one of those suggestions, he would return something beyond what had been proposed. Because we went through such twists and turns, the initial concept and the final scenario ended up being quite different. In particular, the latter half took time because we repeatedly thought it through. During the story structuring period, he also drew many illustrations in parallel of characters and the like, so our understanding of the setting deepened. Okay, so this just sounds like straight up how Toriyama builds his stories. There are just so many different avenues to go in, so many different character plots, motivations, little Easter eggs, things like that. And it is hard to contain and do a follow through. And it sounded like Iyoku and the rest of them were kind of trying to get him to focus toward the ending of that Dragon Ball series. And that's what we got. It kind of makes sense as to why we didn't get anything with the fusion bugs whatsoever, because that could have been a story element that Toriyama threw in there, like, hey, let's do these bugs, and then they never came into fruition because either he forgot or they just decided they didn't want to do them. Among your exchanges with Toriyama sensei, please tell us an episode that left a particular impression. I think Toriyama sensei's way of thinking about character modeling has a balance unique to him. I also felt that he had a strong particular conviction with an ordinary sensibility. When trying to bring out a character's appeal, you tend to make the character stand out more strongly, amplify the swings of emotion, and want to direct things more dramatically. But I think Toriyama Sensei refrains from such expressions as much as possible, especially characters like Glorio or Arinzu, who act apart from the protagonist, tend to have more emotional expressions and reasons for actions made complicated, but because they are Majin, the way they express emotions is different from us humans to begin with. While wrapped in a mystery air, they moved on surprisingly simple behavior principles, didn't they? I think that exquisite sense of balance is what gives rise to a clear and easy to understand story. Also, when it comes to how far to develop the setting for characters making their first appearance, that of course becomes a challenge, but basically we try not to prepare too much of this and that. When the character appears to later in the different situation, it's better to have room left for imagination because that will connect to later fun. Okay, to me that explains why Arinzu and her brother were just so non-characters for the most part, mainly the brother, because there's no deepness there. There's no added story to them. There's no weight to them. Everything's left to imagination. And the only reason that we even got Arinzu is to get the Majin Kuus, basically. That's it. Because Dr. Arinzu does really absolutely nothing besides at the very end you're gonna get a little bit of an explanation as to like how to defeat Goma, but that's basically it. Dr. Arinzu really doesn't do much, which is sad because she was built up pretty high. They go through the story, and then she's also like finding the Dragon Balls from the other side, and so it makes it really interesting. But it would have been cool to see a backstory between those two specific. I'm glad that he spoke about those two specifically, because those two specifically to me were the least interesting characters, and it makes sense because they didn't want to add more layers to them. Please tell us what you value in producing this work. The foundation was made with Dragon Ball GT in mind, but as a completely new anime series. We place the greatest importance on making it a new work, because the Dragon Ball series is a work that has been loved for many years. The production side also tends to see Dragon Ball ness, but that image varies greatly depending on generation and taste. No matter how much we try to follow past works, if we stray from the ness each of you imagines, you'll end up disappointed. So while of course being conscious of the ness, we strove to make it a story that even people watching Dragon Ball for the first time could purely enjoy. This is its greatest strength. It follows Dragon Ball GT, but it is its own clear story in mind. It is made so anybody can really jump into it and have a good time. Dragon Ball Daima could be its own spin-off story. It literally can. It doesn't need to be connected to Dragon Ball Super in any way. It can literally be its own ongoing story in its own little micro-universe, similar to the stuff that we've seen from Xenoverse or even Dragon Ball Heroes. Please tell us what you asked of the cast to keep in mind when performing. This connection to the earlier discussion of character modeling, but we conveyed that it should feel a little different from human emotional expression. Normally, role building is something like, because this happened, they think this, and therefore it takes this action. In other words, you build the role by considering emotions, but we didn't want them to seek the reason for actions and emotions. We wanted them to move reflexively because they would be performing without building out the emotions. It's something that won't work unless you have voice actors with strong ability. It's quite difficult to instantly grasp the essence of a character just by looking at the drawings. In that sense, this time as well, I feel like we were very fortunate with our voice actors. So, I mean, yeah, I could see where they're going with this. The voice actors themselves really brought an emotional depth to the characters that we really got to follow along. The main little girl character, she was entertaining. She was really well done. I don't even remember her name. That's how long it's been since I watched Daima. Then you have Goku was cool. Bulma and Vegeta had like the best storyline, I feel like, and the most entertaining one. And so like it just, I mean, there's a couple characters in there that were really, really entertaining. But the voice acting was on a different level. That's why to me this show is the best out of all the Dragon Ball shows. It is, even though it sounds like I've been bashing a little bit. With certain characters, yeah, certain explanations, yeah, but it is the best out of all the Dragon Ball shows in my opinion. Iyoku-san, please tell us your favorite battle scene. It's the battle between Goku Mini and Tamagami number 3 that made full use of a circular space. It was episode 8, but at that stage, perhaps it wasn't expected that such an intense action battle scene would unfold. Creating a powerful action scene using characters with small bodies is very difficult. I think it was amazing that they depicted it solidly and stylish by using props like the power pole and by using the space itself. It was a scene where you could feel the skill of everyone at Toei Animation. Yeah, I like that one. That was a good fight. As for the fight with the Tamagami, the battle itself was good, but the developments after the battle were also interesting. I think Toriyama sensei thought that just fighting, winning, and getting a Dragon Ball would be boring. As mentioned earlier, the battle scenes are wonderful, but there was also a policy of not making a development that only pursues strength. Besides, there's a limit to continuing only series battles with small forms. In the early days of the Dragon Ball manga serialization, Toriyama sensei had the same dilemma, which is why Goku ended up growing up. In the Dragon Ball Daima, we intentionally included fun developments and gag scenes. They keep saying that these small bodies affect the animating, but I feel like it would be a lot easier. Maybe it is harder because their limbs are smaller. I don't know, I never really thought about it. Among the places Goku, Mini, and the others adventured, what place left a strong impression? I feel Planet Mega became a star. You could call now this is the Great Demon Realm, because in the third Demon Realms there were many places tossed about by poor public order. We discussed that. For the second Demon Realm, we should include a story of a planet where you can feel the strangeness of the Great Demon Realm, and that became the story of episode 13. With the theme of a planet that feels like the Great Demon Realm, I never thought of a giant life form would appear, and moreover of such an out of standard size. There's Piccolo Mini line when leaving the planet Mega. Good grief, what a place, just as expected. It was the Demon Realm, and I'm glad it became a place people can empathize with that line. That was a episode. It wasn't my favorite episode. To be honest, I'm not the biggest on like these kaiju level fights in Dragon Ball. I feel like that's all we've been getting, really, if you really think about it. Like in Superhero, I mean, you could say Broly kind of turns this big ass kaiju when he goes berserker in a way. There's a lot of kaijus at the end of Tournament of Power. I'm kind of kaiju'd out, I'll be honest with you. The transformation into Super Saiyan 3 and Super Saiyan 4 became a hot topic on social media and the like, but through what process did you decide to include them? Since the setting is after the battle with Majin Buu, it was natural progression for Goku to transform into Super Saiyan 3, and if Goku transforms, it wouldn't be strange for Vegeta to follow suit, so the decision to include a transformation into Super Saiyan 3 was made smoothly. But as for Super Saiyan 4, we wrestled with it. Within the flow of the story, it won't be accepted without some sort of growth or trigger, and if we were going to have him transform, we also wanted elements that would surprise everyone. We thought it wouldn't be good to force transformation out of mere plot convenience. However, since it was a story we began creating the Dragon Ball GT in mind, in the end we decided to build the narrative flow and have him transform. The design follows the original Super Saiyan 4, but in the setting Toriyama Sensei drew this time, there was actually a depiction of him taking off his upper garment and discarding it, which left a strong impression. The fact that he doesn't have his gi rip apart with rending sound, but instead takes it off properly, lets us think that it is an that it emphasizes the reason over the witness of the great ape, and we made sure to express that firmly in the direction or over the wildness of the great ape. So he's saying that him removing the shirt instead of ripping it, that means that the shirt, that signifies that it's not connected like the way the original one is to the Great Ape, where it's a complete monstrous transformation. No, this is a deliberate transformation made by the Namekian down there, whose name again escapes me because it's been so long. But he force transformed him, Goku, and that's why Goku turned into Super Saiyan 4. During production, you mentioned that Toriyama Sensei drew a lot of illustrations. Were there any that he himself particularly liked? We never publicly asked him for a favorite illustration, but among the many he drew, you can kind of tell which ones his brush was really following on. So I'll introduce some illustrations that seemed to me like he enjoyed drawing. First, the man and the woman at the drive-in seems like the one he liked. The lady even appeared at the end. Both the character traits and the designs have a nice flavor. don't they? Or maybe they're just ones that I liked. Iyoku-san, who is your favorite character? I think Warp Sama is amazing. It's not the kind of design you'd come up with when trying to create a means of transportation, is it? When I first received the illustration, I had no idea what on earth it was. He also drew 4 view drawings, and each and every one is crafted with exquisite balance and meticulous detail. Also, Hibis is great. Hibis is my favorite. The reason I like him, of course, partly because he has that kind of lovable character, but I feel like he's a character set up that symbolizes the Great Demon Realm, a sense of bleakness that's a little different. It's a strong sense of uncanny. The words Great Demon Realm probably make you feel leaning towards the image of a demon, an evil or negative tinge scariness, but my impression was that many of the people in the Great Demon Realm overall carry an easygoing, gently warm vibe at their own pace, setting aside the poor public order of the Third Demon Realm and the military police who appear as enemies. And on top of that, he was entrusted with such an important role in the climax. I think that Hibis was just like perfect in that story. Not too much, not too little, and then huge role at the end, which was awesome. He carried the demon eye the entire time. Then we find out that there's more of them, so it's not like he was like this character that was just like, oh, happened to be there. Like anybody really could have had that demon eye and brought it over there. There's a few others, so I did like Hibis a lot, and the Demon Realm was well fleshed out. I think it's more well fleshed out than, say, even like Planet Cereal, or especially the Heater clan from Dragon Ball Super manga. Lastly, please say a word to all the Dragon Ball fans. Did you enjoy watching Dragon Ball Daima? Following this work, of course, we are currently working hard to move various things forward. The Dragon Ball series will continue from here on as well. So everyone, by all means, please keep looking forward to it. I don't know how long we're going to be waiting for this thing, but I mean, we may hear something next year. I think that's the timeline that I'm thinking. We may be hearing something of a continuation next year. But unfortunately, I mean, this is all he gives us, and this is an official source. So anybody who's already commented clickbait, I mean, this is not it. This is true. This is facts. This is exactly what he was talking about. And he says that there's going to be a new Dragon Ball series coming out after Dragon Ball Daima. So looking forward to that.
Subscribe for more content.